I'm Alex Robinson. I'm the editor-in-chief of Outdoor Life, and I have been lucky to be able to deer hunt all over the country, a bunch of different whitetail places, properties that I've had myself, hung a ton of stands on them. I've been lucky to hunt some outfitted places where the stands have already been hung for me, like preset stuff. And one thing that's always intrigued me is how different whitetail hunters set up their tree stands. And one of the biggest maybe most controversial topics is what height to hang a tree stand. And in a lot of hunting media, like I've probably written this myself, the number that everyone talks about is 20 feet. You kind of want to get in that 20-foot range because at that height, the deer won't see you, but the angle won't be so steep. I have never actually measured how high my tree stand sets are. And I know that a lot of people will talk about going even higher, up to 25 or 30 feet. And I've always wondered, what is the optimal height for hanging a tree stand? So today we're gonna test it out. We're here in my backyard, and I've hung stands at 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet, and 25 feet. And basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna shoot into a 3D target at each range. We're going to kind of evaluate the angle. We'll measure the angle with the rangefinder, and we'll also check the wind, because one of the pros for hanging higher is that people say that your scent kind of carries above the deer. It makes it, if you're way up high and it's windy, your scent will kind of blow above the deer trail and the deer will be less likely to bust you. So we'll kind of look at that too. And then when I'm done shooting, we'll go down to the 3D target and we'll kind of evaluate impact versus exit and see just how difficult it gets to make those really steep, high elevation shots versus making a shot where you're only 10 feet up in a tree. One thing we'll do before we start shooting is I'm gonna put one of these little stickers on my 3D target where the deer's heart would be. And then for each shot at each angle, I will hold just above this target. Basically, high heart, lung shot, and we'll see what the angle looks like. So let's go do it. Let's start shooting. Okay, so we're at 10 feet right here. And honestly, it feels a little higher than what I was expecting. Let me range the target real quick. All right, so we're at 18 yards and the angle is 15 degrees. I've been using this Bushnell R5 series rangefinder and binocular so far this summer and kind of during the early season whitetail hunting, and just found it to be a super utilitarian, useful, affordable series of optics, which is just what you want for bow hunting. But we'll take a shot here. Okay, got him. We've got like a 10-mile-an-hour wind right now, and you can see if there was a trail, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 yards over that way, we would 100% get busted. It's floating down pretty easily down to ground height. So nice, easy shot, but very obviously wind is a huge factor at this height. And also, I do feel like a deer would see you draw up here. I'm kind of standing like this. I'm kind of out profiled, skyline behind me. You could definitely get busted at this height. So let's go higher. All right, so we are at 15 feet right now. And I gotta be honest, this feels kind of perfect. I think this is probably what most of my stands are hung at. I think if I had my stand set up this high, I don't feel like I would have the need to go any higher. So this is a 21 degree shot, a negative 21 degree angle. Do the wind check quick. It is drifting up a little bit more, but I still think wind is going to be a huge factor at this height. I don't think you could just sit up here and expect deer to come in downwind of you and you'd be fine. Okay, let's take a shot. Okay, that was a better shot. Let's go higher. This is Jake. This is Jake, our camera guy, who told me right before we started climbing up the tree that he's kind of scared of heights. So, good job, Jake. Keep it up. You're doing great. Okay, so we get up to 20, and of course the wind starts blowing. This feels excessively high. I don't know that I've sat in many stands that were actually 20 feet up. Now, having measured it and climbing up here, maybe, like, I have one stand in my memory from like Illinois where I was hunting with this guy. He was like a maniac about stand height. And we maybe had one set on the property that was this high. But I strongly doubt that most bow hunters are climbing to 20 feet. But let's shoot and see what it looks like. Check the angle of the shot. 26 degrees. Ooh, let's check our wind while it's blowing. That's pretty good, actually. It's kind of cheating because it's gusting up here now all of a sudden, but our wind is blowing almost straight back. If there were any deer within 20, 30 yards of us, I do believe that our scent would blow right over the top of them. I can see an advantage for being up this high when it comes to scent. Honestly, the shot angle doesn't feel that dramatically different than it did from 15 feet. I would still feel confident shooting a broadside deer at 18 yards from 20 feet up. I'll shoot one though, and we'll see what it looks like on the ground. I don't know if I instinctually did that or if I just made a bad shot. I hit a little bit higher on that one, which is what you'd want to do from up this high, but I didn't mean to. But we'll just say that I did, so it looks better. So we made it up to 25 feet, and this feels kind of crazy high. I've definitely never sat in a stand this high, and I don't think I've ever seen a stand this high. Now, we'll do a quick angle check. Guessing it's going to be about 30 degrees. Seems like every 5 feet has been about 5 degrees. I'll stand up and do it. Yeah, negative 30 degrees from up here. It still looks like a doable shot, honestly, but it is a little nerve-wracking standing up when you're this high. And with the breeze, this is a big tree, but even with this big, huge tree, you do get a little back and forth sway, even in just like a 10-mile-an-hour wind being up this high. And that makes a big difference on just like being able to hold on target and how confident you feel at full draw, especially if you haven't shot at an angle this steep before, which I don't think I have. I don't think I've taken an archery shot at a negative 30-degree angle. I mean, it feels like it's almost straight down. All right, before we do the shot, we actually got to do our wind check. Yeah, it's blowing straight across way back. That's the advantage from being up this high. It's very obvious. The deer, there's almost no way the deer is going to see you up here. The trade-off is you have a crazy high, steep angle. So we'll see how that goes. I'm even like nervous to be away from the tree. I like want to keep contact with the tree. That was a bad shot. That was not a good shot. And honestly, not surprising. I did not feel comfortable about that. The whole thing, like the swaying back and forth, the super steep angle. I think I just punched it. And that's a close shot. It's 18 yards. So take two from up here. Jake ran down and grabbed my arrow. Apparently it was actually a better hit than what I realized. From up here, I mean, it looked like high shoulder. Obviously the arrow's angled down a lot more from this height and kind of came out lungs on the other side. So obviously the higher you go up, the higher you want to hit on the target. But just for example, I'm trying to all hit basically the same spot. So I'm going to shoot again. All right, that was better. Let's go look at it. All right. So this is 10. This is 15 feet. This is 20 feet right here. And this is 25. For all these shots, I was basically aiming right here. And I don't know if I just did this subconsciously, but as I got higher up in each shot, my shots drifted up a little bit higher, which actually is what you would want to do. So let's look at the backside and see where these arrows came out. All right, so you can see these three. This is the 10, 15, and 20 foot heights. These are all coming out basically through the bottom of the heart. This one is the 25 foot height. And this is noticeably steeper. And I think it starts to become problematic. If you look at this, we basically have 3 inches here. Really 2 inches until you're coming. If this arrow was 2 inches lower, it'd be hitting the deer through the leg rather than through the body cavity. And now let's look at the other side. Now this is our 25 foot height. We'll measure to the top of the lungs, probably 3.5 inches. So if you hit up here, you'd be hitting them through the top of the lungs, maybe missing that front lung. On an angle that steep, you really only have like a 5-inch window up and down. Probably less, probably like 4.5-inch window. That's still a good sized target, but there's a lot less margin for error when your arrow is coming in at such a steep angle to get a double lung shot, which is what everybody wants. So I think the takeaway here is 10 to 20 feet, shot angle at 18, 20 yards, average archery distances, not a problem. You know, just hold for the top of the heart, hit them through the top of the heart, your arrow will exit through the bottom of the heart, and you'll have a dead buck every time. You get up to the 25 foot mark or higher, not only is it harder to shoot from that height, but your margin for error is significantly less. All right, so after shooting at these different heights a bunch more, I have 3 kind of main takeaways. One is that most bow hunters are not hunting nearly as high as what they think they are. I think very few of us are actually climbing to 20 feet. The second interesting thing is I think that from 10 to 20 feet, shot angle is not that big of an issue if you're dealing with a, say, 20 to 15 yard shot. If you have closer shot presentations, then that angle is going to become more of an issue the higher you go. And then my last takeaway is that when you get up really high and you're shooting at a steep angle, it just gets way harder to shoot well. Like, I had no problem shooting super tight groups down at 15 feet, but up here at 25 feet, it's like windy. I feel a little uncomfortable. I feel less stable at full draw, and my bow angle is just so steep that I can't quite get comfortable in my anchor point, and I'm just not shooting as well as I did at the lower heights. Now, if you were rifle hunting and you were just like, I want to see as much as possible and just basically be invisible to deer and be up in the sniper's hide, that's cool. Like, climb all the way up that you possibly can. But for bow hunting, I do think around that 15-foot mark, if you actually measured it out, that's probably the best height for most of us. If you like content like this where we field test concepts and gear, then subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out outdoorlife.com.